Session was not live earlier. I'm not sure. Okay. The issue of fake invoicing may not have serious impact on the economy in short run, but it has an impact in the long run, unquestionably. I just want Sakshi to confirm or somebody from the participants to confirm in the chat window that session was live earlier also. I just got a saw a message session is starting. I'm not very sure
No, no,
if
it's
my earlier part of the presentation has been seen by everybody and we have been talking about.
yeah. So actually, there were a couple of people who could not join the session, so I rescheduled everything. So if you can give a briefing as to what has happened before. So
No,
just
has everybody missed or only few people have missed?
only few people. I actually did not check the phone calls right now, na, so I could not see. I just checked the phone call. There were a couple of people who've not been able to.
No problem. So I think for the people who have missed, we'll have a recap at the end of the session also. We have just broadly covered how fake invoicing operates. We are now getting into a new section, how to detect this and tackle this. GST Council has adopted few SOPs or maybe I'll just run you through broadly through the previous slide in 5 minutes because I think then maybe most of the people may not appreciate what we are talking about. So clearly speaking, I think I'll start from here because we need to understand what is the concept of fake invoicing. So is a fake invoice is an invoice which normally a person takes for increasing his turnover, for getting input tax credit, or otherwise engage into other malpractices. Now, what happens? How this all operates? Either there are no supplies, right? People just put bills, like they created a fake company, they write a bill of so and so goods plus ITC on some company, and then this goes on through a chain of companies. On the alternate,
Just a second. I think your voice is not audible to a couple of people. Can you please try to guess who?
I, I am talking on top of my voice. Is it not audible to you?
Can you please write it in the chat box if you guys are able to hear it? It's audible. Okay, okay. Someone just called me and told me that your voice is not audible to him.
Hasan, if there is a person specific issue, normally it will be his internet connection. Because if everybody is not able to hear me, then it is a problem with me.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. I think it's audible. So I think I'll just check up with him what the issue is.
Yeah. And a retailer, normally, what happens is retailers sell goods to consumers who do not seek tax invoice or credits on tax invoices. And normally, the retailers tend to bill to such fake companies so that these companies can avail input tax credit from items which have already been sold on retail counter. And that is how the goods which have already been sold, they get the credit, the input tax credit of these goods gets back into the system. So we took an example of an iPhone. That is how we started working. So we said that there was an iPhone which was say 1 lakh rupees price. So it was sold at 1,18,000 to a consumer, whereas he billed that iPhone to a fake company for 1,18,000. And in the second step, this person had bought a showpiece for 1 lakh rupees with 12% ITC at 1,12,000. He sold it at 2 lakhs plus uh, 24,000 as GST, while availed the 12,000 rupees ITC against the iPhone input which he had and still retains about 6,000 rupees in his input tax credit register. So effectively, government should have got 12,000 rupees from him, but instead the transaction so remains that this person is having a receivable from government of 6,000 rupees. Now, when we come now we are back live. I think the recap portion is over. How to detect and tackle. GST Council has also adopted few standard operating procedures on how to detect and tackle those invoices. So for identification of generator, who is a generator? The person who starts the chain. And the user of fake invoices. User of fake invoices, everybody in the chain is a user. Multiple registration for a single address and a single PAN. I think that this is So what they do is they take multiple GST numbers for a single proprietor, because they do not have multiple Aadhaar numbers, they do not have multiple PAN numbers, they do not have multiple physical addresses. So everything, three of them remain same, but they obtain multiple GST numbers with different trade names, open different current accounts, and start operating, and show that transactions between them are actually real transactions that build a turnover. Because nobody, when somebody is taking a fake supply, they always expect that some level of turnover exists already in that client. They have common registrations, like email numbers are common, mobile numbers are common. So for example, they we saw in this slide that they have data of 9,757 companies which use fake invoicing. So for example, there is an email ID which is there in this, and there is another registration number anywhere in the country who has the same email ID registered. There is a potential that that company is also fake, and accordingly the exchequer may visit that premises. So that is why it is important. So what do we get out of this? That we should have email IDs and mobile numbers only and only of the people who own the company, not of the consultant. There was an old practice that consultants used to put their mobile numbers, their email IDs. Now, even if one client has a problem of fake invoicing, there is a chance that people go to every client. So that is why it is recommended to have your own email ID and your own mobile number in your registration number. I think that is one precaution which one should take. Incorrect or fake address which are given in GST portal. I think this problem also government has started to address, but people give fake address, the address which do not exist. The premises which they have declared, there is a mismatch at the time of physical verification. There is a mismatch between the volume of goods transacted and the e-way bill generated. Because normally, these fake bill generating companies, they're not systematic companies. They do not have a lot of infrastructure. So sometimes they may miss out on generating of e-way bills, or sometimes they may do duplicate e-way bill generation, right? Now, apart from this, there is one more thing which they have not told this here is artificial intelligence. The government in its infrastructure has put in artificial intelligence in place. What they are analyzing is not only the data which you are feeding on GST portal. They are also analyzing the data which they have from other sources. For example, there was a party A who issues a fake invoice to party B. Party A is in Vadodara, Gujarat. Party B is in, say, Tamil Nadu. Now, from party A to party B, there is an e-way bill which you have generated. Fake bill people generate those e-way bills. They need to put in a lorry number or a vehicle number. They have put in that lorry number and vehicle number. But have they actually hired that lorry number? No. The answer is no. They have not hired him, because why will somebody hire a lorry for a fake invoice? Now, how do government detect this problem? There are two ways which government has. The e-way bill system will do a VLOOKUP or some other lookup with the RTO website, Registrar of Transport Authority, whether such a vehicle number exists. Right? So if you have filled in a vehicle number, whether that registration number exists, whether any such vehicle exists. Now, what model is that vehicle belonging to? And accordingly, they have some value filters that say if there is a 600 cc truck, sorry, 6,000 cc truck, it can carry so much volume of a particular item or so much value of a particular item. That kind of analysis is also being envisaged. That is not being done as of now, but yes, they check whether the vehicle exists or not. The second check which they do is whether at the time in which your e-way bill was made and you claim to be having transporting these goods, whether there was any other e-way bill which was issued with the same vehicle number. So this is another check. Now the third check which they do, whether the toll booths, because wherever you are passing through the toll booth, there is a data capturing as to how much, which vehicle number is passing from which toll booth. So whether the vehicle was actually traveled all those toll booths which come from Vadodara to Tamil Nadu. in and around that time. Maybe not exactly, but they have given margin of error. So you can see how deep the artificial intelligence of the government system is working. Of course, they do not, for every such default, they're not coming back to you. But say for a particular registration number, out of 5 his sales invoices, 4 are like this. Or out of 500, 450 are like this. Then obviously they are bound to come to his premises, raid in premises, and do additions. Now, once they've identified a generator and user of fake invoices, they establish the following steps. They search all the premises. They see any other indicator where mismatch of quantity declared, like consumption of electricity or water. So, for example, you are a manufacturing location and there is not enough consumption of electricity or water for the amount of goods you have sold or processed. Then obviously there is an indicator that you have actually, booked a part of the turnover which is not the actual turnover. Whether you have valid licenses, permissions, clearances from all authorities for dealing in those goods, whether there was an agreement between buyer and supplier, whether the assessment of any kind of mismatch in e-way bills or invoices, and mismatch with the detailed supplier agencies like income tax, ROC. कहीं पे भी wherever you see, if there is a mismatch, they will that can prove as a evidence. Of course, you may say that sometimes, sir, there can be an error. So, but error can be there in 1 invoice, 2 invoice, 5 invoice out of 100. If the error is 450 invoices out of 500, nobody is going to believe you that there was an error. So what I'm saying is 1 out of 100, if you have had an invoice which is a bad invoice, government may not come after you. And once, in all these steps which are given in this slide, this forgery is proven, right? They proved that you are a problematic person. They will cancel your GST number. Re-registration number will not be granted. GST will be supplied as generating fake invoices. ITC availed on behalf of fake invoices will be recovered, and ITC can be blocked from such persons so that no one can take undue advantage of the credit. So, for example, you have taken an invoice and today there is a raid on that person and you have taken ITC from him. Your ITC will also be reversed in the GST system. Provisions in GST law to curb fake invoicing. So I think, as they say, अच्छा काम कोई करे किसी और को फल मिले, बुरा काम कोई करे किसी और को फल मिले. So I think because of few people who engage in these fake invoicing, we get into the problem of too much micromanaged regulation for all the assessees. Rule 36.4 was introduced. Earlier, it started with 20%. Then it went down to 10%. Now it is standing at 5%. So whatever input tax credit is not appearing in your 2A. So for example, your 2A reads 10,000 rupees of ITC. You can avail only 10,500, not beyond. Even if you have an invoice, you cannot avail. You have to request your supplier to file a GST return, and only then you will be able to avail. E-invoicing provisions were brought up for parties who have turnover in excess of 50 crores, 100 crores. Now, that kind of provisions were brought up because government needs to regulate the actual date of invoice, which is written on the invoice, and the timing at which e-invoice is generated on the portal. So I think when the government wants to link both the timing, that is why they have said that simultaneous e-invoicing has to happen. And your accounting system through a API protocol gets linked to the government's website. Rule 86B, restriction on availing ITC to discharge 100% out of liability. So even if I have ITC, I can avail only 99% of my liability through ITC, and 1% tax has to be paid through cash ledger. Biometric based Aadhaar authentication on a registration number, photograph of the premises on the registration, all these aspects, they're all results of these fake invoices menaces. 36.4 I have already explained. E-invoicing also I have explained. 86B I have explained. These slides are more given for your personal theoretical reading after the presentation. I request all of you to please download those slides from the links given by Master India, or even I think this software also allows you to download these slides. What are the penalties? So if somebody has been caught and he has committed this error, if the amount involved, which amount we are talking about? The amount of invoice or the amount of GST? We are talking about the amount of GST, amount of ITC. So if you have played more than 5 crores of ITC, if you have played through fake invoicing, 5 years imprisonment, and fine of course exists. 2 crores to 5 crores, 3 years. More than 1 crore, less than 2 crore, 1 year. And for second and every subsequent, so you were caught once and sentenced. Now again in your life you are again caught. Second time, even if it is a small default, 5 years. Further offenses with regard to fake invoicing, they are cognizable and non-bailable offenses. Wherever tax amount is wrongly availed or you have utilized amount exceeding 5 crores. So if a person has done for this error for more than 5 crores, he will not get a bail. No bail. Any person who retains the benefit of transactions covered under clause 1, 2, 7, 9 of subsection 1, these are all fake invoicing transactions. They're liable to a penalty equivalent to the tax evaded or the ITC availed. Now, these are again situations given in which what happens. These are again for your reading and better understanding. Conclusion: there is no doubt that government has to curb this menace. Government's motto towards ease of doing business would like to look just as an assurance if government puts many more restrictions. The government should ensure that genuine taxpayers remain harmless. Fake invoicing fraud may be 1 to 5%. However, increasing problem of genuine taxpayers, which are huge in number, is highly unreasonable. Instead of putting more and more blanket restrictions on all taxpayers, government should ideally come up with a policy so that they can identify the problematic people. I think before I have done, I briefly run through my entire presentation. I don't know how much time I took, extra or less, but I think I've ran through my presentation. I've tried to be very crisp, crystal clear, and come across my point fully to you. But I think I'll request all of you to come up with questions, doubts, and I don't need only you can come up with doubts which are not part of my presentation. So if there are specific issues which your company is facing in relation to fake invoicing matters, in relation to ITC matters, in relation to evidence of input tax credit matters, because they're all related to this. So come up with all any of the related questions, and I shall be happy to answer to the best of my ability. Thank you
So,
so much. Over to Sakshi.
yeah, so I will request. I think a lot of people have not been able to understand were not able to attend this working mechanism of fake invoices. So I request you to explain it through the example that you were giving earlier.
I will run through them. I'll run through the whole presentation again also with them, but I like to do Q&A session first.
Okay, sure, sure. I think the first question, if we start, is from Hitesh. He is asking how to identify if bill amount limit states, example 48,000 interstate 1 lakh. Hitesh, I think you need to explain this question.
Yeah,
Are you able
your
to?
question is not very clear.
Okay, Nilamani questions: how does it apply to service industry? Any example where service industry can indulge in making fake invoices?
So I think service industry can engage definitely. The only problem is that the service industry, there is no artificial intelligence of e-way bills or road tax or toll plazas which people can catch you. But for example, there is a fake invoice which you have taken in the service industry which relates to a service input, but there is no evidence of the service being received. or there is no nexus of the service you have bought from somebody, that nexus to your output is missing or to your business is missing, and it is classified as a non-business expenditure. So for example, say you do a large event, right, and you that invoice is put up in your company, but that was a marriage function of the promoter, and accordingly it is definitely nothing to do with. Of course you may say that that input is not allowed because this is F&B, but there can be other items in the event other than F&B. I understand consumables is not an input tax credit item, or there could be another item. So for example, you took a advisory invoice, you took a legal and professional fee invoice from somebody, whereas actually you have not taken any advice during the year from that person. For example, you engage a huge tax lawyer and you take a tax advice for say 50 lakhs. Your income tax return, your profit is only 10 lakhs, your turnover is say 50 crores, and you are giving 50 lakhs on tax advisory. Who will believe you on this planet? Nobody.
Is my voice audible to you, Pankaj
Yeah.
and Suhas? I think then they were not able to hear my voice properly. Pankaj, can you just write a yes or a no so that I am aware you were able to hear my voice properly?
The people can unmute and maybe ask their questions. I think, do we allow that?
I don't think that is a problem that is available here. I think the only way to ask questions is to add questions in the chat box.
Okay.
There's Hitesh, we've still not been able to understand your question. How to identify if bill amount limit states, example 48,000 interstate. Probably he's asking if there is a limit to a bill amount of around say example 48,000, and the bill is for interstate or interstate 1 lakh.
I don't know what is the question. If I could guess it, what it could be, it is he's talking about e-way bill limits.
Probably.
Yeah. So if your bill is below e-way bill, obviously you will not generate e-way bill. So that
Yeah.
everybody understands. That's a logical thing.
So I think the e-way bill limit is 50,000 for an e-way bill, right?
It depends. I think in different states the limits have been varied differently. 50,000 is the central limit. In few
Okay.
states they've enhanced it to 1 lakh also.
Oh, okay. I think it is was this your question? Yes, clear. I think, yeah, this was his question. There's another question. Babu Rao Polishetty is asking, sir, on the basis of GSTR 2A or 2B, 5% extra ITC.
2A, sir. 2A, not 2B. 2B is done by us. So 2A. 2A is what is reflected on the portal automatically.
Are there any questions? Currently, we do not have any more questions. I think,
So what I'll do is for those people who joined the seminar in time. Okay, we have a question from Dia. What
yeah,
if
what if e-way bill will e-way bill is generated if invoice is less than 50,000?
there's no problem? I think if, doing compliance more than what is required by law, there is no problem which comes. So if you have generated a e-way bill, there's no problem. So I'll request that all those thank you so much for everybody who joined us in time. If there's anything which organizers wants to do as a vote of thanks, they can do. And after that, all the people who joined a bit late, they can stay back. I'll take you through in detail the first half of my presentation because I saw a lot of people joining in after 14, 15 slides of my presentation were done. So over to you, Sakshi, for a minute, and then in the meanwhile, I'm going back to the first slide.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining in. It was a great presentation. I think a couple of people were not able to join in, and we're very sorry for that. We Sir is going to brief the whole slides and session again for you guys. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here and presenting us with such a important topic that
Well,
is very
it's
important
a
for our
pleasure
company.
joining. It's a pleasure joining all of you.
I'll be adding links to our social media, Masters India, as well as Search, so that you can so that you can follow us, and we keep encouraging webinars, and if anyone is interested to getting hosted by us, we definitely happy to engage. I'm enclosing my email ID here in case you have any doubts or anything that you want to ask me personally. This webinar, in case a couple of people who were not able to attend and you would want to share it with other people, we're going to upload it on our YouTube channel. We'll be sending you mails on a personal level so that you are able to access the YouTube link. That will be probably uploaded by tomorrow or probably by the end of the evening. And Yeah, okay. So I'll just briefly introduce Vaibhav sir again for people who were not there. So Vaibhav sir is a partner at Mehra Goyal and Company. He's a qualified CA, CS, and an LLB graduate. He is also amongst the first registered valuers in India. He is also qualified as a specialist in forensic accounting and fraud detection from ICAI. He has been practicing in the area of GST, IFRS, risk advisory, and valuations since March 2010. He has an experience of around more than 10 years in a partnership firm. He's in practice, he's a CA in practice right now. And you can reach out to him on his LinkedIn profile. I'm just Sir, it will be great if you can add your email ID also. I think if someone wants to connect with.
Everything is there on my slide.
Yeah, of course. So you can everyone can download the handout on your left hand side. It is available for downloads. Only 13 people have downloaded out of 35. So if you guys are not able to access it, please write it on the chat box so that I can guide you guys. And yeah, sir, I think you can brief again so that
Yeah,
they're
sure.
able to understand
So I
everything.
think the background of this fake invoicing starts with a lot of news items. There is a raid, 10,000 crore fraud busted, 2,000 crore fraud busted. I think that kind of things we have been hearing, and that's how this term we were aware about that there's something called fake invoicing. And when we came to know what is fake invoicing, now before we get into what is fake invoicing as per us, there is a uh, I don't
Is
know.
there an issue, sir?
No, I think there was something which popped up on the screen.
Okay.
So this is a flyer which was issued by Government of India. I'm not sure how to bring it in front of the webcam. So I just briefly included the content of this flyer in first 5-6 slides of my presentation. Non-compliant GST invoice is what they refer to as a fake invoice. A fake invoice will be a non-compliant GST invoice in two scenarios: invoice without any supply, invoice with a non-compliant supply. What is a non-compliant supply? A supply which actually happened but could not comply. Maybe there was not a proper e-way bill, not a proper invoice, not a proper document was followed, not a proper uh, receiving, whatever. I think whatever are the compliance steps are given. If you have not followed everything, it will be a non-compliant supply. What is the effect of fake invoice? Of course, input tax credit shoots up in places where it should not exist, and accordingly, this is punishable under GST law. What is the social effect? If people keep on taking fake input tax credit, they will stop paying taxes to the government. If government doesn't get taxes, they can't do anything for the people at large. So I think that's how the menace of fake invoices has a virtual circle. How is fake invoices dealt with legally? You prepare a fake invoice, you've done a crime. It is a criminal activity. This crime is punishable with 5 years of imprisonment, in addition to recovery of entire ITC, interest at the rate of 24% per annum, and penalty equivalent to the tax amount. What is the role of citizens? If you find somebody doing fake invoicing, I'm not recommending whether you do that or not, but you can. You can inform the local CGST Seva Kendra via an email, a call, or any other means. Identity of the person informing will stay confidential, and the informer shall be rewarded suitably. So if you find out somebody who is doing 200 crores worth of fake ITC, you inform, it's set. You're going to get maybe 1 or 2% of the amount very soon. What is a fake invoice? the invoices are called as fake, where GST invoices are raised by an entity without actual supply of goods or services. Why do people do that? They avail ITC, I've already told. They evade GST because against ITC they're able to set off their output tax liability. They evade income tax because they put this in their purchases and reduce their profit. And they divert funds from the companies because they pay money in check and get back cash. They show non-existent transactions and they increase their top lines as well as their expenses. Maybe bottom line remains same or sometimes even increase bottom line. They claim GST refunds for exporters and also conduct hawala transactions. There are three ways in which such fake GST invoices could be misused. You can take input tax credit. You can utilize the same against the tax paid, which gives the loss of revenue, and you route this invoices through a series of shell companies and transfer ITC from one company to another in a circular fashion to increase the turnover. Now, coming back to the example which I explained in a bit of a hurry because there are few people who joined early. So, say a retailer sells an iPhone for 1,18,000, which includes 18,000 rupees as GST, and 1 lakh is the basic value. Now, I, as a consumer who bought this iPhone, paid entire money in cash, so there is no trail of this sale. The invoice which was supposed to be issued to me, the same invoice he issued to one corporate, say ABC Private Limited, who never bought the iPhone. But ABC Private Limited paid him 118 lakhs via check and took back, say, 109 lakhs via cash. So, accordingly, 109,000, sorry. And accordingly, 9,000 rupees was something which retailer gained out of this, and 9,000 rupees is something which this fake company gained as an input tax credit. Apart from whatever income tax reduction, this iPhone, when it goes as a depreciation and goes as an expense, will be there for him. Now, now this company ABC Limited or ABC and Company deals in showpieces business. So they bought a showpiece for 1 lakh plus GST at the rate of 12%. And sold it for 2,24,000. Now, this gap of 12,000 should have ideally been paid via check or cash to Government of India GST account. But this person utilized the fake ITC invoice of iPhone to offset the credit, and he still has 6,000 rupees to his credit in his ITC account. What are the benefits? Of course, there are a lot of benefits. People make a lot of money. They get commission for, like I said, the retailer saved 9,000 rupees as commission. There's no sales variance because he sold an iPhone. He cut an invoice of an iPhone. So there's no sales variance in his sales register. But there is a diversion of ITC. Maybe somebody wants to inflate his turnover, so you can create maybe 4 or 5 companies, rotate transactions between all those 5 companies and increase the turnover. You increase the bank transactions, it helps you in getting a good OD score, a good cash credit limit. And in all these transactions, there's no mismatch in your GSTR 2A and 3B, which occurs because when people are doing these transactions, they're more than particular that the amount appears in GSTR 2A. The returns of 3B are filed in time. What does a fake company get? They get commission. And you know, these people, these ABC and Company kind of people, they deal in that name for a particular time, and then they surrender that GST number. They shut down their shops. They go. Sometimes they just stop filing returns and leave the GST number for being cancelled by the department. The company utilizes ITC, pays less tax. Government revenue falls. So, as per a latest survey by the Directorate General of Analytics and Risk Management, there are 9,757 companies between July 17 to March 20 who have engaged in this fake invoicing menace. So I think this was the part of presentation which I had completed when Sakshi pointed me out that I need to repeat my presentation. I've already done those slides. So if there's anything which I have left out, I'll request people to point out in the chat window. And if there's anything, we can surely attend to it.
So Divya has a question. She wants you to explain Hawala transactions. Um, a basic.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether this is the right forum to explain those transactions. But Hawala transactions clearly mean where you do not have a underlying transaction and there is a movement of physical monetary amount that is normally told as a Hawala transaction. Beyond this, I will not be able to explain here on this forum because there is a decorum of the forum which one has to keep.
Yeah, sure, sir. Is there any specific question that anyone wants to ask? Anything that is related to your business or any issue that you're facing? Sir, can you explain how to tackle fake invoicing and how to make sure
So
that
yeah,
you're not caught up in this
I think
mess?
I think very good point out by Sakshi. So it is very clear if you want to avoid fake invoicing, to enter into your business, you need to have a good vendor onboarding mechanism. So whenever you onboard a vendor from whom you are purchasing, you need to be sure that this is a person with good business practices. How will one be sure? So there's some sort of a due diligence if you do whether this person is filing his GST returns on time. Whether How do I know that? It is available on the GST portal. You can just put in your GST number, anybody's GST number, and see when his GSTR 1 was filed, on which date, when his GSTR 3B was filed. Of course, it doesn't show the amounts. You can also do a Google and see if there are any frauds, complaints, or anything lying against a person. And also maybe a physical visit if you're doing material purchases from anybody to a business premises of the person, so that you are sure that his business processes are fine and he's a safe person to deal with. So if you have been a victim, so nobody becomes a victim without hand in glove, right? So if you have been part of some transactions which were not having underlying uh, supply, and today government has caught you, or maybe caught the person who wrote an invoice on you, or maybe his predecessor, right? Because there's a huge chain. There are of course possibilities they may come to you. If this is one-off transaction, you can escape out with the help of a good advisor, wherein we can claim that okay, we were not in this fake invoicing business, we are genuine people, and again the invoice which we have from this non-genuine businessman, that is also against a genuine purchase. So it is important for me to prove that the stock which I purchased from him, what did I do for that stock? Whether I sold it, if I have sold it, whether it has genuinely gone, what evidence do I have, what kind of documentation do I have in terms of lorry receipts, in terms of toll plaza receipts, in terms of goods receipt note. I could understand, Dia, what you wish to say. Inform your client payment will be stopped is quite incomplete. Can you please rephrase your question? So if you are a victim of a fake invoicing, it is very clear that you are in problem, and you need to consult an expert to get out of it, to prepare a defense for yourself. And if you have done something wrong, there can be some way of reducing the damage. I'll not say avoiding the damage. They are normally such transactions. Uh, Payment happens already well in advance. They might have happened only when the transaction happened. There is no payment in hand with which the person will have as on the date it gets caught. Because payment you normally hold for real transactions, not for these fake invoicing transactions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. How can we find if I got caught fake invoice? So news and notice. So, for example, there is a supplier who got caught. Now, all the people from whom he has done purchases, all the people from whom he has sold goods to, all of them are potential targets for government to raid, and a government raid is good enough to inform you. Santosh, legally you cannot stop payment of GST if he has not filed his GSTR 1 and 3B. But as per a business practice, people normally do not pay if the supplier is not regular in filing his GSTR 1 and 3B, and people withhold payment. Though you can insist him on filing his return, at the same time you can, you can, or you can ensure that he files his return. It all depends on the facts of the case. You suggest you do due diligence before onboarding a vendor. Any tips on good due diligence? I told you, you can visit the premises, you can do Googling about him, you can check the return filing trend on the website, you can check his website. And normally, most of the reasonable size operating companies will not get into such practices. People try and stay away from such practices because they have seen a lot of cases in which a lot of repercussions have been uh, seen for such practices. I think thank you very much for joining us. It has been a sheer pleasure joining Master India in today's seminar. Thank you, Sakshi, for inviting me and being part of your forum. You're on mute, so we couldn't hear you. What you were saying? Yeah, over to you.
For being a part of this webinar. Thank you everyone who would be attendees. I hope all your questions are answered. Yeah, I think we can close the seminar. I think there are not any more questions that are left unanswered.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav sir. Thank you. Hi everyone. If there are any more questions that have been left unanswered, or you want to personally speak to Vaibhav sir and resolve your queries, I'll request all of you to just mail him. It's there on his PPT, the presentation that he's shared, or you can. I've enclosed his LinkedIn profile also in the chat box. You can access that website, that LinkedIn profile, and you can definitely DM him and connect with him. I hope everything is answered. Thank you so much, everyone.